Vice Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Lamba, Chief of Personnel Admiral Murgesan, Governing Council Member Admiral Nair, erstwhile Vice Chief, Flag General and Air Officers, distinguished guests, delegates from 20 foreign countries, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to wish all of you a very warm welcome to this edition of the NMF's annual Maritime Power Conference. The National Maritime Foundation is India's premier maritime think tank and was launched on February 15, 2005 by Shri Pranab Mukherjee, then the Defense Minister, currently the President. The NMF, which has completed 10 years of its existence, organizes the annual Maritime Power Conference during February-March each year. The theme of last AMPC was Evolving Dynamics of the Indian Ocean, Prospects and the Way Forward, and its proceedings have been published in the form of a book which will be released tomorrow in the concluding session of the conference. The theme chosen for the conference this year is Asia and the Arctic, Opportunities and Challenges, and delegates from Asian and the Arctic countries have been invited to present their perspective on the Arctic. The name Arctic is derived from the word Arctos, which in Greek means bear. The polar bear, ladies and gentlemen, is surely one of the defining characteristics of the Arctic. The Arctic region, which is a 14.5 million square kilometer area, includes the northern territories of Alaska, Greenland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Russia, and the Arctic Ocean. Sea ice, permafrost, glaciers, and ice sheets are characteristic parts of the Arctic's physical terrain. The Arctic region is a unique area amongst the Earth's ecosystems. The flora and fauna in the Arctic is shaped and defined to varying degrees by the processes of freezing and thawing of ice, which gives the region a distinctive nature. The Arctic supports terrestrial, freshwater and marine ecosystems and has been inhabited by humans for close to 20,000 years. Some 2 to 4 million people live in the Arctic today, which include Inuit, Sami, Yupik, Aleut, Chukchi, Nenets, and other indigenous people who have adapted to the extreme conditions over time. The Arctic region holds a significant amount of the planet's fresh water in the form of polar ice caps, continental ice sheets, and glaciers, and this ice plays a vital role in the global climate. Apart from the regulatory role of the Earth's climate and in shaping weather patterns, the region is important for preserving the genetic biodiversity of the planet and for supporting native people and societies. It is also strategically very important from the perspective of different countries who have competing strategic interests in the region. The region is currently going through a transformation which may well be irreversible. This change is impacting the entire world, and the region is therefore emerging as a central arena for geopolitics, scientific research, and commerce. The main driver of this change is global warming induced climate changes, which are leading to melting of the ice in the region. Reports show that the average temperatures in the Arctic region are rising twice as fast as they are elsewhere in the world, and the Arctic sea ice extent is exhibiting a decline at the rate of 3.4% per decade, relative to 1981 to 2010 average. Scientific observations over the last decade and a half have conclusively established that there has been a thinning of the Arctic ice, melting of the Greenland ice sheet, and thawing of the permafrost. This change brings along with it various challenges and opportunities, each having its own inherent dynamics. Melting ice has also led to opening of new shipping routes for trade, has increased the feasibility of exploration for mineral resources, and offshore extraction of oil and gas, has led to an increase in the fishing season, and has opened up a host of tourism-related commercial opportunities. The insatiable need for energy and mineral resources is fueling strategic competition between Arctic littorals for exploiting the resources of the Arctic. The Arctic region, which is expected to contain up to 10 to 20% of the world's oil and nearly 30% of the world's unknown natural gas reserves, is therefore a hotspot of resources which is waiting to be explored. Based on the U.S. Geological Survey in 2008, it estimated that the undiscovered, technically recoverable reserves of petroleum include 90 billion barrels of oil, 1,670 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, and 44 million barrels of natural gas liquids. Other potential sources of energy include huge quantities of methane hydrate deposits, which are found on continental shelves in the Arctic. Apart from hydrocarbons, the Arctic has large mineral reserves ranging from zinc, lead, nickel, coal, and other precious metals such as gold, diamond, and platinum. The Arctic seas also contain some of the world's oldest and richest commercial fishing grounds. The relative ice-free summers in the recent past have also attracted the interest of commercial shipping operators. The opening up of the Northern Sea Route and the Northwest Passage is a boon for the shipping industry. While the NWP considerably shortens the distance for travel from Scandinavian countries to the west coast of the US, the NSR has great strategic and commercial importance as it bypasses the regional choke points in the Middle East, namely the Suez. These routes also provide significant commercial opportunities to transport minerals and energy resources from the Arctic to bring back finished products. Although these sea routes save fuel and time, they are currently niche trading routes, as this route is ice-free only for a couple of months in a year. The NSR, which has witnessed 4 years of continued growth in traffic, saw a steep downturn in 2014, and only 23 vessels undertook the full journey, as against 71 in 2013. This might, however, be a temporary phenomenon, and shipping through the Arctic may recover quickly to emerge as an economically viable alternative to the traditional sea routes. While there are significant opportunities, the region also represents a host of challenges which will need to be overcome in the near future. Key amongst these are resolution of overlapping claims and demarcation of EEZ boundaries, the threat of militarization, Arctic governance, protection of rights of indigenous people, environmental protection, and securitization of the Arctic, amongst others. Other challenges include the harsh climatic conditions, infrastructure constraints, technology limitations, shortage of qualified personnel, and an incomplete understanding of the environmental risks in the Arctic. Although the land boundaries between the Arctic countries are agreed upon, there are overlapping claims in the oceans. While some of the maritime boundary disputes have been resolved bilaterally, others are in the process of resolution, with equity being the guiding principle. However, beyond the 200-mile EEZ limit, 5 Arctic countries lay claim to the seabed resources by attempting to prove that the seabed is an extension of their continental shelf. While Russia has submitted its claim in 2001, Norway in 2007, Canada in 2013, Denmark in 2014 have also submitted their claims for an maritime disputes in the Arctic. While maritime disputes primarily flow from economic interests, they are being resolved in a spirit of cooperation and within an institutional framework. However, the strategic importance of the Arctic extends beyond the sources into the security regime and therefore plays an important role in the Arctic. Although the threat of militarization has significantly reduced after the end of the Cold War, each country continues to maintain military presence in the Arctic, in line with its threat perceptions, while significantly collaborating to increase confidence building measures in the area. Institutions play a vital role in evolving mechanisms for dispute resolution and governance. The Arctic Council, which was formed in 1996, is a high-level intergovernmental forum that addresses various issues and makes policy decisions in the Arctic. It currently has 8 full members, 12 permanent observers, and 6 ad hoc observers. Canada is the current chair of the Arctic Council and has significantly consolidated the process of confidence building apart from demonstrating a leadership role in the protection of environment and support to the rights of the indigenous communities. It completes its term in May 2015, after which the US is scheduled to take over the chairmanship of the Arctic Council. Over the next few decades, climate change is expected to accelerate, resulting in major physical, ecological, social, and economic changes in the Arctic, many of which have already begun. Due to the sensitive nature of the Arctic, the region is extremely vulnerable and climate change is emerging as a significant stressor on Arctic biodiversity. Environmental protection, therefore, would continue to remain one of the main challenges for the Arctic littorals. In the face of the above challenges, the Arctic region is experiencing heightened activity and political strategic interests are driving diplomatic efforts by various countries to address these issues. These developments are also bringing the Arctic and Asian security agendas together and in the process is changing Asia's strategic boundaries. 5 Asian countries, China, India, Japan, Republic of Korea, and Singapore, joined the Arctic Council as permanent observers in 2013. Grant of this status acknowledges the growing significance of the Arctic to these countries and hints at the supporting role which these countries can play in formulating global policies for the Arctic region. Scientific research is a common area of interest for all Asian countries in the Arctic. China has been proactive in pursuing joint ventures in exploration and infrastructure development projects with Russia, Norway, and Iceland. Japan was the first Asian country to undertake Arctic scientific research and to determine the viability of the Northern Sea route. Republic of Korea has the advantage of a well-developed shipbuilding industry to provide ships capable of traversing through the ice. Singapore has a technological edge in marine industries, particularly in management of ports, deployment of offshore marine and engineering, and has a keen interest in the development of international maritime policy. India has developed substantial expertise in Arctic scientific research, which is underpinned by decades of experience from its Antarctica research program. In 2007, India established Himadri, a polar research station, Norway, and initiated projects dealing with atmospheric science, microbiology, and glaciology. There are 14 national research institutions that support India's polar research program, and the Indian government has also approved the acquisition of an ice-class Arctic research vessel. India can also potentially develop naval capability for the Arctic region, as it has some experience of operating submarines and an aircraft carrier in frigid waters of the White Sea. And a Sindhu Rakshak, an Indian diesel-electric submarine operated in the southern periphery of the Arctic region on its return leg from Zvezdochka shipyard, Severodvinsk in the northwest Russia, and the Indian aircraft carrier Vikramaditya also carried out exercises and sea trials in harsh conditions of the Arctic. It is evident that the Asian countries have a variety of interests in the Arctic, and the grant of permanent observer status to these countries is an acknowledgement of their capabilities. These countries are keen to avail the emerging opportunities in the Arctic and are thus formulating appropriate long-term national strategies. The preliminary approach of the Asian observer countries has rightly been to graduate from involvement to engagement in the Arctic, which seems to have generated significant interest amongst analysts. I am very happy to note that this conference brings together Arctic and Asian stakeholders with an aim to evolve a common approach to maximize opportunities while effectively overcoming the challenges in the Arctic in a cordial, responsible, and consultative manner. The conference is structured into 5 academic sessions. The first session on evolving dynamics in the Arctic will discuss the drivers of change and the impact on the Arctic. The next 2 sessions on Asian strategies and policies in the Arctic are devoted to understanding the interests, strategies, and policies of Asian countries with regard to the Arctic region. Session 4 on the Arctic countries' perspective on Asian approaches will attempt to understand the perspectives of Arctic littorals on the engagement of Asian countries. It is evident that all stakeholders in the Arctic region, including the Asian countries, have shared interests in the sustainable development of the region. The final academic session, which is structured in the form of a panel discussion, is titled Exploring a Pan-Asian Approach to the Arctic, and will attempt to evolve a collaborative approach by the Asian countries to the Arctic. We have a mix of scholars, academics, diplomats, government functionaries, and practicing professionals from Arctic and Asian countries to share their perspective on these broad aspects. I am confident that the perspectives presented and the discussions that follow over the next 2 days would be enriching, informative, and would lead to synergizing outcomes. I am also hopeful that we would be able to derive some key policy takeaways and would be able to contribute to a sustainable Arctic in the near future. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention.